While America struggles with soaring data center energy costs and grid failures, China just deployed something that could change everything. Massive underwater data centers on the ocean floor running at 40% less energy than anything we have on land. The question isn't whether this technology works. China already proved that with their South China Sea facility processing millions of images per second. The real question is whether the United States is about to fall dangerously behind in the next phase of the digital arms race. Right now, American data centers consume 176 terawatt-hours annually. That's enough electricity to power 16 million homes for an entire year. The Energy Information Administration projects this could triple by 2028 as artificial intelligence demands explode across every sector of the economy. Virginia alone dedicates 26% of its entire electrical grid to feeding these digital behemoths, nearly triple the national average. We're talking about a fundamental shift in how America consumes energy, and frankly, our current approach isn't sustainable. Here's where the story gets interesting. While American tech giants like Microsoft experimented with underwater data centers through Project Natick, ultimately walking away from the technology in 2024, China didn't hesitate. Beijing Highlander Digital Technology deployed the world's first commercial underwater data center off Hainan Island in 2023. These aren't small pilot projects. We're talking about 1,300-ton pressure-resistant capsules sitting 35 meters underwater, processing the computational equivalent of 4 million high-definition images in just 30 seconds. The numbers tell a compelling story about American competitiveness. China's underwater facility operates with a power usage effectiveness ratio of 1.1, compared to the U.S. data center industry average of 1.55. For those unfamiliar with these metrics, that represents a 40% reduction in total energy consumption.
When you're talking about facilities that can consume 50 to 100 megawatts continuously, that efficiency difference translates to tens of millions in annual operational savings per facility. But energy efficiency is just the beginning of this strategic challenge. Traditional American data centers require massive cooling infrastructure, chillers, computer room air conditioners, complex HVAC systems that can consume up to 40% of the facility's total power draw. Underwater data centers eliminate all of that through natural seawater cooling. They also consume zero water for cooling, addressing a growing concern as drought conditions persist across the American Southwest, where many data centers currently operate. The construction economics reveal another strategic vulnerability. Building a traditional data center in the United States costs between $7 to $12 million per megawatt of capacity, not including often prohibitive land acquisition costs that can reach $75 per square foot in prime locations like Northern Virginia. Underwater facilities could reduce construction costs by approximately $2.5 million per megawatt while completely eliminating land acquisition expenses. The modular, prefabricated nature of these systems enables deployment within 12 to 90 days, compared to 1 to 2 years for traditional facilities. China isn't stopping with one facility. They're planning to deploy 100 additional underwater modules, positioning this technology as a cornerstone of their national AI infrastructure strategy. Meanwhile, American startups like Subsea Cloud and Network Ocean are struggling with regulatory hurdles that can take years to navigate. Network Ocean's proposed San Francisco Bay deployment has faced environmental agency pushback over unpermitted testing, highlighting the bureaucratic challenges that could slow American adoption of this critical technology. The geopolitical implications extend far beyond energy efficiency. China's underwater data centers integrate directly with their Belt and Road Initiative's submarine cable networks, positioning Chinese computational infrastructure at critical nodes of global internet traffic. Approximately 95% of international data flows through submarine cables, and controlling processing capabilities near these landing points provides significant strategic advantages for data sovereignty and international commerce. From a national security perspective, underwater data centers offer inherent advantages that traditional facilities cannot match.
Once submerged, these facilities become extremely difficult to access without specialized equipment, deterring both criminal and state-sponsored threats. Deep-water installations require remotely operated vehicles for access, creating trackable activity that enhances security monitoring. This physical security advantage could prove crucial as cyber warfare capabilities continue evolving. The United States maintains extensive submarine cable landing infrastructure that could synergistically support underwater data center deployment. 88 FCC-licensed submarine cable systems connect the U.S. to global networks, with major landing points on both coasts. However, we're not capitalizing on this existing infrastructure advantage. Instead, we're watching China establish dominance in a technology that could fundamentally reshape global digital infrastructure. Environmental considerations add another layer to this strategic challenge. Microsoft's Project Natick demonstrated that properly designed underwater facilities can actually enhance marine ecosystems, emerging from 2 years underwater covered with marine growth, including algae, barnacles, and sea anemones. The facilities function as artificial reefs, providing shelter and protection for marine life while maintaining stable thermal conditions that don't disrupt ocean temperatures. The renewable energy integration possibilities are particularly compelling for American competitiveness. Offshore wind development is accelerating rapidly along the U.S. East Coast, creating natural partnership opportunities with underwater data centers. These facilities could provide stable baseload demand for offshore wind farms, improving project economics through guaranteed power purchase agreements while reducing transmission infrastructure requirements. Current American AI development is consuming unprecedented amounts of computational power. GPU clusters required for AI training and inference create cooling challenges that traditional data centers struggle to address efficiently. Companies like Google, Meta, and Amazon are dedicating entire facilities to AI workloads, driving the explosive energy consumption growth that threatens grid stability in regions like Virginia and North Carolina. The timing couldn't be more critical. China's rapid advancement in AI capabilities is directly supported by their willingness to deploy innovative infrastructure solutions like underwater data centers.
While American companies focus on optimizing existing terrestrial facilities, Chinese firms are leapfrogging to fundamentally more efficient architectures that could provide sustained competitive advantages in the global AI race. Federal leadership could accelerate American underwater data center development through streamlined permitting frameworks that balance environmental protection with strategic innovation needs. The Biden administration's focus on accelerating data center infrastructure development could potentially extend to offshore areas within the U.S. exclusive economic zone, providing the regulatory clarity that private companies need to invest confidently in this technology. The economic transformation potential extends beyond individual facilities to entire regional ecosystems. Coastal states like California, New York, and Florida combine high data center demand with proximity to oceanic cooling resources. Integrating underwater facilities with offshore renewable energy projects could create powerful synergies that enhance both digital infrastructure and clean energy deployment. Looking at the broader competitive landscape, we're witnessing a fundamental shift in how nations approach digital infrastructure. China's commitment to underwater data centers represents strategic thinking about long-term technological advantages, not just short-term cost savings. They're building infrastructure that could provide sustained competitive benefits in artificial intelligence, cloud computing, and digital services for decades to come. The question facing American policymakers and technology leaders isn't whether underwater data centers represent viable technology. China has already demonstrated commercial success. The question is whether the United States will develop the regulatory frameworks, investment incentives, and strategic coordination necessary to compete effectively in this emerging sector.
Every month of delay allows Chinese firms to consolidate their technological and operational advantages, while American companies navigate bureaucratic obstacles. As artificial intelligence continues driving exponential growth in computational demand, underwater data centers offer a sustainable, efficient, and economically viable solution that could reshape the entire digital infrastructure landscape. The ocean floor may indeed hold the key to America's digital future, but only if we're willing to dive in before the strategic window closes.
What do you think? Is America prepared to make the investments necessary to compete in the underwater data center race? Or are we watching China establish another critical technological advantage that could define the next decade of global competition?